Fuck, what was it?
This seems like something we need to record.
I was thinking you probably were, but
Joel, where's the chat thingy?
Boy.
bottom right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of in the bottom towards the middle. It says open conversation.
Oh, there we go. Anyways, welcome to Practice Shooting After Dark. My name is Ben. We're here to answer shooting questions. On deck today, let's see, Mr. Hopkins.
Hi.
Mr. Park.
Hello.
Mr. Turner.
Hey.
Oh, well, we have a great show on tap here. I'm going to show a product. Matt's going to talk about who knows what. Joel's going to be nice about everything. And Tyler, you're the wild card, man. All right, Joel, start off. What do you got? You know the rules, man.
All right, fine. Well, this is the time of year when people might be trying new techniques, whether they heard it from instructor, saw it online, maybe a video, whatever. And I have some thoughts to share. So I'm going to use Ben as an example. So Ben talked to me about it when he started training, where he was shooting everything target focused. So I thought it was interesting. I tried it for a bit. And after really giving it a chance, I decided it was just like, you know, it's not you, it's me. It's time to part ways. I still like the front sight focus for really long shots and tight partials. So no harm done. I gave it a try. That's it. I'll just do what I was doing. So reloading is another easy example. Some people reload high. Some bring the gun down lower. I tried reloading lower. I found I was very fast at it. I had great control. Awesome. I will keep that change. So what I don't think is a good idea is for people to take advice as gospel just because the instructor is better than they are. And I don't want to name names, but I think there's several different
Didn't
stuff
I
online.
tell you, Joel, not to do what I was doing?
Yeah, but I was going to try it anyway.
Oh.
It's like if I said like, hey, there's that car crash on the right. Don't look, Ben. It's a car crash.
Joel,
Where?
how long
Where?
did you give it?
Maybe 3 weeks. I shot a couple thousand rounds.
Do you think that was enough?
Maybe, and you have a good point. Maybe I should have done it longer. But I kind of got a gut feeling off it. I was like, for long shots, I don't know. So anyway, I think it's just you have to think for yourself and understand your personal shooting will end up being a combination of things you learn from different places. So I don't like it if somebody sees something online from somebody better than they are and they just take it as gospel. Like, you know, Ben says do this. Ben is better than I am, so whatever Ben says, I should just do it. You know?
I mean, that sounded pretty good so far.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Thoughts on that?
That's it? You don't...
That's it. Don't take it as gospel, what you see online. You have to try it for yourself. Maybe it's better. Maybe it's not. Give it a genuine effort. It's maybe like Matt saying, maybe I didn't try it long enough. I don't know. If you get a gut feeling, hey, this is for me or this isn't, let me do something here. So like reloading. So if I was reloading high, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to try reloading low, and I try it for 5 minutes in a dry fire session, I drop a magazine once. I'm like, nope, I'm out. That's not for me, you know? But if you tried it a couple days or after a week, you get a gut feeling of like, I think there's potential here, or nah, this isn't it. But your shooting will end up being a combination of a bunch of different techniques you pick up from different places. And I think that's how it should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. Anybody have any comments for him?
I think it makes sense.
God damn it, Joel. All right, I'm going to talk about some...
Ooh, Tyler's got something.
Go ahead, Tyler.
I think as you go, you kind of, as you train, you shoot, you also gain the discernment in that area where you know how much to pour into a certain technique change, and you realize when you're just kind of wasting reps and go back to what you know. I think it's something that kind of develops alongside your shooting.
You think like a gut feeling, you mean, kind of?
Maybe. I think in terms of like knowing how many reps to throw at something before you call it a lost cause. Like you said, like if you do something one day and you dismiss it and said it's not for me, one dry fire session is probably not enough. But if you spend, let's say, 3 nights at it, 45 minutes a session, and it's just not working. If there's something in your body geometry or your other technique that's incompatible, I think you got to develop the discernment to know when to move on.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
Well, this gave me an interesting thought. So, like, the lowest level of thinking is kind of just doing what someone tells you, like having a master and master says to do it. And then a level up from that is understanding what works for you, or at least trying to understand, and then doing what works for you. And then a level up from that would be understanding what works for other people and why.
yeah.
That sound
And
about
even-
right?
Like the material Ben does is outstanding. I'm not saying that, but if Ben just writes a book and says, if you want to be good, do these drills, this like a gym routine, like, hey, this day, do this, like you do these numbers, you're going to be good, which is good. I mean, that does work for people, but some people need to be told what to do. But if you can on your own be like, hey, I need to be working on reloads. Hey, I had a real problem with these partials, these far shots. You keep changing what you're training on. Your training evolves, and it's not necessarily, you can take drills and stuff. I'm not saying that's not good, but you have to kind of adapt that to your situation and your ability.
Well, my friend Gaston, who is a fellow shooting instructor, we've discussed this very issue of like making a training plan for somebody detailed to the level of how many repetitions to do for a particular drill or something. And he said, this might surprise you, if you have to get to that level, if you have to tell somebody what to do on that level, they're fucked.
I could see that.
They are like, if they can't figure that part out, if they don't know, if they can't understand like what they're doing wrong, you can't help them because they can't help themselves. Like you have to participate in your own rescue,
Yeah. And that's a lot different, like from training group where, I post a video, you give me feedback, like, hey, work on this, this, and this. Like getting advice is different, but it's not just being a mindless zombie of like not thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, can I shill a product now?
Yes.
Not really. I'm not really shilling, but I think this is an interesting thing. This is a
I knew
plastic
it.
bag containing a net. But this is the brass chute. Did you buy one of these, Joel? You did, right?
No, I'm heavily debating about it.
It's not a debate. Debate's over.
You told me it was the next Paster gun, and then you had my attention when you said that.
What?
Dude. I was not I don't like complicating things, as you might imagine. I like go to the range, and one of my rules for a long time has been I'm just going to shoot where I want to shoot. The brass falls where it falls, and I'll pick it up as I feel is convenient. But I was training with a guy that had one of these, and he and I see life. I should say we have a very similar view of the world, okay, in a lot of ways. And he said, "Why are you scratching around on the ground on your hands and knees picking up brass?" And I was like, That's an excellent question. So we trained with one of these. And so what it is, it's a metal frame that's foldable. You unfold it and you hang the net on it. And then the net it's not just a net on the ground. It goes up in the air and it's going to catch 95% of your brass easily if you're standing next to it when you're shooting. Okay. And then it goes down this funnel and you put some container underneath it and it catches your brass in the container. So here's the trade-off. You spend some money to get this thing, and then you spend 2 minutes to put it up. And when you're done shooting, you take 3 minutes and you pull it down. And what that saves you is crawling around on your hands and knees picking up brass, which for me is like a 15-minute thing if I shoot a lot and I don't get anywhere near all the brass. You with me so far?
Mm-hmm.
So this thing, it is. After using one for a week, I was like, I told you to buy one, Joel.
You did.
I had the Pro Shop order them and stock them, and I got one for myself.
I was a little skeptical of setup. Either Tim posted a video. I think he posted a YouTube link. If not, it's on YouTube because I wanted to see how it was set up. And it's actually looks very, very easy.
It even has there's a couple little details I'll tell you about that I really like about this thing. The net's not symmetrical. Like there's a top and a bottom to the net because the top is high up and the bottom is lower down, obviously.
Mhm.
They're color coded which end is which. Like the end of the net is a different color, so it's easy to figure out which end goes where. And also, you put a container underneath it to catch your brass. Like, let's say you're going to change calibers, or you're training with, I don't know why you would do this, but if you're shooting with one of your friends that has like an open gun or something, you could just kick your bucket out of the way, and when they're shooting, they just put their bucket under there, and it sorts the brass for you. So there's like little details about it like that make it very slick. It's very intelligently designed. Is it money? Yeah, it's like $150 or something. How much is it? 160 maybe?
I think it's 150.
I don't know. That's a lot of money to pick up your brass, I will admit. But for the the metal frame and the net and all that shit, it's not an expensive product for what it is. It's just sort of a big thing. This will live in my truck from now on, and this will be my thing at the range. Obviously, it's not good if you're running around shooting, but for standing still, it picks up the brass. So I like it. Crawling around on your hands and knees picking up brass, that is over for me. No mas.
I like it. I'll probably end up buying one. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I don't know why you haven't already bought one, Joel.
Well, all right.
No, I mean, just
double,
like,
is it a double alpha product
yeah, it is.
Yeah, so you know it's gonna
Yeah,
be
it is.
good.
through Pro Shop?
Well, you can buy it from where you want. I don't give a fuck, but the Pro Shop stocks them now.
Okay.
I don't even think it's a moneymaker. It's like the paster guns. Like, they don't even make money on it.
Tim does. Yeah, Tim does not make money
It's
on
the
Facebook.
best.
Does he sell anything with a margin? How's he keeping the lights on?
Belts are really good for if you guys want to know what to try to get discounts on, belts are really good for margin. Boss holsters are okay. Guns are terrible. There's no margin in the guns.
I think that's universal.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
shop.
Yeah, the paster guns, he makes like $5 a paster gun.
yeah, they don't make any money.
And so he had like a Black Friday deal, and I'm like, you put in like pasters with those and make a deal? He's like, well, I'll probably break even, but yeah, we'll do it. So like he was like losing money every time somebody bought
Every product on Black Friday is a loss leader.
one. Yes.
Like okay, how about this? If you're training with this brass net and with a paster gun, literally the only thing that would make your practice better and easier is having somebody fill magazines for you. That is the
You're
only
just buying
thing.
back time, honestly.
Well,
You're buying
Matt,
time.
and when I watch you scratching around in your hands and knees picking up brass, I'll say I bought back my dignity.
You know I don't do that, so
So anyway,
Alright.
that's the
I don't have
product.
to do that.
I was sold on it right away, just in that. Just like, yeah, have fun crawling around picking up your brass, dickhead. I'm not doing that anymore. Like, I'm over it. It's done. It's over.
Yeah, I was impressed with the construction though, for sure, the way it's put together.
Well, no, seriously, and I did the time calculation the same way, where it's like I get tired of picking up my brass after 15 minutes, and I just stop. Not to mention I shoot in a literal sand pit, so half of my brass is buried anyway that I don't even get it. I mean, this thing makes perfect sense for me. And then I like the little details. If I switch calibers, I'll just kick one bucket out of the way and put the other one under there, and I'll have my brass sorted out. No problems. It's the way to go. Anyway,
How much are you still swapping between calibers and guns in the same session? Is that still a thing?
well, it hasn't been. I haven't trained at my range since October. So when I
is
get
that?
back to training at my, what's that, Matt?
why is that?
I've been busy, man. I've been traveling. I've been
How
doing
long-
stuff.
Yeah, how long
Yes,
are you
it's a
home for
one.
right now? Like 2 days?
No, I'm home for 22 hours.
Oh, goody.
Well, actually, if we get done early enough, I'm going to leave again tonight. So that would have put me at home for 9 hours.
Dude, I got this new Alienware laptop. We're gonna play some Apex. We gotta get that happening.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I haven't been around a whole lot, and that situation's not really getting a whole lot better. But yeah, when I start training again, I will be switching calibers down again. All right. Who's up next?
Tyler.
Okay. Some friends and I, we've got kind of a training group chat, and we'll discuss various shooting things. We had a interesting discussion about hit factor. I think it's pretty well accepted at this point that at a lower hit factor, points are more heavily weighted, and at a higher hit factor, speed is more heavily weighted. And the benefits of having this kind of hit factor calculus in your head where you can, look at a stage and roughly estimate, or if you're at a major and you're shooting on the second day, maybe you have some data to go off from the first day's shooters. But anyway, we had a interesting discussion about what makes a low hit factor stage low. What's the threshold? And also, what makes a high hit factor stage high? What's that threshold? What's that number? If you had to put a number on it, that would make you consciously change the way you approach a stage. So, like, if I know this low hit factor stage, I got to get all the points. If this is a super high hit factor stage, I got to burn it down with speed. Is there a number in your mind that makes you trigger that conscious change in your approach? And what is it, if you even agree with me?
So I actually do have one. And it's hard to tell unless you've seen people run the stage like equal skill level, or where they're at, so you can kind of see what hit factor they get compared to what they normally get. And it's actually like 4 or 5. If it starts getting under 4, I'm like, or under 5, I'm like, well, let's kind of pay attention to this and see. And I'll just know points are more worth it on that stuff.
That was my low number was 4. Anything I estimate around or below that, like, I'm going to consciously change something in my shooting to try to get every alpha. What do you think, Joel?
I will give you my scrub answer. I am the scrub of this group, and I will admit that.
Yeah, you are.
For me, yeah, facts. The high hit factor to the low hit factor are going to be very minor differences. So if I know it's a low hit factor, and maybe let's say I'm not good enough to tell you, okay, this will be 6.7. If I get a general sense, hey, these positions are really spread out, or maybe I've got like an unloaded start, or something like that. I will maybe make the mental note, okay, let's say you've got like 2 or 3, some really close targets, and then you've got a plate rack at 15 yards or 20 yards, some far stuff. I'll make the mental note like, okay, on these close targets, I'm not just going to smash these. I am going to make sure I will take just that little bit extra to make sure I get the alpha on the close targets where maybe otherwise, maybe a Charlie would fly. And then maybe if it's a really high hit factor, I know like, man, this has to be good. Gun handling has to be fast. I am going to burn these. I might eat some C's. I'm still going to try for the A's. So it's minor changes, but I don't flip a switch where it's like, I'm going to just burn these hoes. Like, this is going to be so fast. Or I'm going to make sure I get every single A on this stage. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of minor for my shooting anyway. Yeah, but I do make those decisions, though.
Yeah, just to clarify, like, I don't mean like above my high hit factor threshold, I just go for raw time. Don't care about points. It may be helpful. Like, do I take this target on the move?
Yeah.
Can I afford to drop a Charlie? Likewise on the low side, I can roll through this position, but if I set up hard, I'm have a much higher likelihood of getting the alphas. It's that kind of decision, not like that binary. Like, I'm either going for raw speed or like I'll take all day to get all alphas.
Yeah, totally on the same page. So, little decisions.
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh, damn it. Well, I was going to say I can't give you a number where I start doing that stuff, but if I look at a stage, I'll get specific enough about the math where I can decide how to approach particular targets, depending on what the hit factor looks like. So on a 3-factor stage, and I see a 4-yard head box, I'm going to try to shoot A's when I'm shooting production. Like, my target will be the credit card.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm shooting a 15-yard head box on a 4-factor stage, I probably can't hit the credit card no matter how I try outside of luck. So I'll just, shoot at the head. But on a 8-factor stage on a target, yeah, I'd be making decisions about whether or not I'm moving. So to me, it's kind of the number changes depending on what the stage looks like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a 4-factor stage, because there's a lot of running that has a lot of 3-yard targets, you better believe I'm going to be doing everything I can do to collect the A's on those targets. But if it's, it might be a 12-factor stage with the same targets, and I'll be shooting, a target-focused madman on the same targets, moving through as aggressively as I can or whatever. It kind of depends on what the stage looks like.
And I think the vast majority of stages are not in the extremes. And so
No,
I think
of course.
the approach to the vast majority of stages then is just shoot as fast as you can, as accurately as you can.
Yes.
Right?
A's and close C's as fast as you can do that. Aiming at here's a good rule for you, Tyler. See what you think about this. You're going to make a legitimate attempt to get every A, but you're not going to be so conservative with it that you actually get every A all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good way to say it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to add to that?
No, I like it. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of it really in a number sense.
Fantastic. What's next?
Matt.
Oh, you guys didn't hear what I said? No.
Oh,
So I actually forgot from the last episode, but I have a different topic now. Dang, it was so good too. I was like, that's perfect. I can talk about that.
We should have put you up to bat first before you forgot it.
It was when we stopped the recording. I think I forgot.
Oh.
When should somebody no longer take classes and just work on practice?
Oh,
that's an interesting question.
that is interesting.
So not to be the detriment of a person that runs this podcast that sells classes.
I don't give a shit. There's plenty of other idiots signing up.
So
It's
what's
a joke,
kinda,
people. You're not idiots. It's a joke.
What's kind of the threshold of should you take another class or should you practice more?
I think it's when you run out of things to work on.
Damn,
Or you-
say that.
So I'll use myself as an example. Last year, I thought okay, I'm sure I know I'm making mistakes, but I don't know what they are. So I feel like I'm trained up. What do I direct my training towards? Take class with Ben. He's like, hey, this is a problem. Grip needs to get fixed. You're muscling the gun, idiot. Fix that. Okay, I've got big things now to work on. Ben did not call me an idiot. No. But so I work on those. Hey, now this year, hey, I know those are problems. I've worked on those. Maybe they're not perfect, but I've worked on those. Now, set me up for a class. What do I need to work on now? If I already had a list of things that I needed to work on and I didn't know how to work on them, that would be a good reason to take a class. And I think it's also personality dependent, because I know there are some top guys that have just death stalkers that maybe have never taken a class, but I was not so fortunate. But the direction for sure. Tyler, what do you think?
Well, I think you need both. Ideally, I think it's first of all, you have to know how to practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a class may be good to get you to where you understand how to practice. And after that, you've probably got a good long while where you have tons of stuff to work on, and it should be readily apparent what to work on. You may reach a point at a certain level where it's harder to tell what you should be working on. You're splitting these hairs into finer and finer pieces. It's maybe you get hit a sticking point. It's probably another good time to take a class at that point. If you're having difficulty,
like a plateau?
Yeah, maybe. Or if you're just having a hard time identifying your deficiencies, maybe you need to get another set of eyes on it. especially where at a higher level where the games become more and more incremental anyway. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. I'll say this, Matt. I mean, as I'm thinking about this, I train now more with other people in a context of them trying to help me or us trying to help each other. Like I go out of my way more to create those opportunities than I ever have at my level. So I don't know. I mean, I would say in terms of personality, I'm fairly open-minded. No matter how much of an asshole I seem like, I'm pretty open-minded, and I like to try different things, and I like to understand what's going on. So as far as instructional materials, I still read everything I can get my hands on. I listen to pretty much everything I can get my hands on, and I will train with pretty much anybody if I can create an opportunity to train with that person in a way that's not going to, I would say, interfere with my life. And I do not care about. I'm fine. I'll spend all the money I have to on it. So as you know, I'll like fly to train with Gaston, and I'll shoot with them for a couple days, and we'll have one guy run the training, for the other guy. So we're going to do what that guy says, and then I'll take on board any feedback, like, hey, I think this and this and this, and I just like when I was in Russia, I spent time training with Martin Kamenicek, who's one of the top,
He's very strong. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the top. He was one of the top open guys in the world until he switched to production optics. And it was like, hey, what do you think about this and this and this? Let's try this and this. And I will do whatever I have to do to get ideas from other people. And they don't have, like, they're not going to hurt my feelings. So you can just tell me whatever he thinks. So I haven't really stopped trying to take classes from other people or take instruction from other people, even if it's not in a formalized class setting.
So I think it's a good mindset to have it that way. Always learning, or having an open mind, I think.
Like, I mean, I straight up, I book plane tickets to another continent to train with a guy that I think can help me. Mm-hmm. So I don't, like if you want to go take a class, that's fine. I mean, some people do classes just as their practice, which I think is a little silly. Some people have that culture. That's not very common. And some people take one class and think that they have it all figured out. I don't know. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. It gets if you're bored or you're stuck in a rut, taking a class is probably a smart thing to do.
And I would say go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, if you're not, don't put yourself out financially. Like, I'm not telling you to sign up for a class with me. Like if you think it's a lot of money, like money aside, if you want some training ideas, taking a class from me or anybody else might be a good use of your time.
And how often would you say your classes change? Like every year, every couple of years? They're always changing, right?
It's more often than every year.
And
I'll change things.
And if you weren't training up with other top guys, if you just had a curriculum that you'd establish and like you were already booking students, like everybody else is also gaining from you continuing learning, because while you're learning and training with other dudes, you're finding better ways to do it or better ways to teach things or more effective ways maybe to teach things, and then like everybody benefits from that. So like I'll speak for you, I guess. It's made you better as an instructor. It's made you better as a shooter. So there's just no downside to gathering as much knowledge as you can.
Yeah, no, it's very beneficial for me, and it's beneficial, and part of what drives that, I'll be honest, is like I want to come up with a new way to understand things or a new way to do things, because, well, like you just said, like I change my program around based on what I think is working the best for the largest amount of people, and that's not easy to be changing fundamental stuff around. Like just the way that I do marksmanship fundamentals in classes and train myself, by the way, that's changed completely in the last 10 years. Completely.
Oh, I bet.
Well, who is not doing the doubles drill right now? Like,
I know.
Everyone knows the doubles drill, and that was basically a collaborative effort between you and Gaston, right? Or you took his drill and improved it?
Well, I gave him a deficiency. He started doing a drill, and then I reverse engineered what he was doing into something that worked for mass market, a mass of people. Yeah. It wouldn't work without both of us. Yes, anybody not doing that right now, like they're missing the boat. And if they tried it and it didn't work for them, they just don't understand it. I can tell you that right now, like they don't understand what the fuck's happening.
The other one I think it's quite good is on the same level as practical accuracy.
Yes.
I think that is on the same level as doubles, and I started doing that strong hand only and weak hand only, and
Yeah,
learning
game
a
changer.
lot. Would you
Yeah.
be comfortable like telling the backstory of where that came from, or why you decided to do it that way?
Well, we were doing, so I used to use dots, like the Frank Garcia's dot drill.
Mm-hmm.
And what I had in class, what I was doing in classes was since the 6 second, it was a 5 second par time at 7 yards to shoot a dot, which to get 6 shots on that dot with iron sights at 7 yards, as all of you guys know, that's really hard. And then to do that 6 times in a row, that pretty much means that you are a master of relatively slow fire shooting, like match pace, but tough shots. Like that's fair to say, I think.
Yeah,
Like,
it's very
you are
tough.
you are a baller if you can do that. So that's a drill that I got from Jay Hirschberg, but he got it from Frank. And then I was doing that drill. I'm like, I like this, but this is wholly inappropriate for classes because of the time limits. So what I did for classes was I would have the sheet of 6 dots, and then I would keep my par setting on my timer at 5 seconds, and the class would have like 1 dot for slow fire, and then 2 shots in 5 seconds, then 3, then 4 on each dot in order. So by the time it was 6 shots in 5 seconds, pretty much nobody can do it in an open enrollment class, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But it would kind of make the point about, so it would be like, okay, so they have to draw the gun and get the right grip, and then pull the trigger straight and do all of the marksmanship fundamental stuff. But what was good, and that is a drill that could push everybody at some point, which I liked, and then they would understand where they had to be, which was draw the gun quickly, get a good grip on it, and then shoot the gun straight, right? But it would be really hard for them to get there, but they'd understand what they had to do. The problem with that drill is the slower shooting. So if it's 2 or 3 shots in 5 seconds, that wouldn't push the better guys. And then the lower, like most people, like maybe 70% of them, there's no way, like they have no hope of being able to shoot 6 shots accurately in 5 seconds on that day at that time, right? Mm-hmm. So it would push everybody and they get kind of the right ideas, but they're going to be maybe really frustrated at some point. And the real problem with your marksmanship would be like, hey, they're pushing on the gun or dipping the gun down and shooting low left, or they're not getting the right grip on the gun to start with, which is sort of a different problem than shooting the gun straight, right? Mm-hmm. So what Gaston did for his training was he would draw his gun on a target and then shoot at some predetermined pace. 30 splits, 50 splits, 70 splits. He would shoot at that pace and then see how tight of a group he could shoot at that distance. So he'll send me a picture, 15 meters, 50 splits. This is what the target looks like. That's what he would do. Okay. So I gave that some thought, and I was like, it's totally stupid to give people a predetermined pace in a class setting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It'd be even just tough to do that administratively.
It's so people would probably spend half the time getting the pace to what tempo I wanted the pace to be.
Yeah.
So that didn't make any sense. But instead, if it's, hey, draw the gun and then take as long as you need to get your grip right, now that should eliminate any like misgripping the gun due to trying to draw fast. So you're eliminating that issue. And then the pace would be just, hey, when the sights come down, pull the trigger again. Like when you feel the sights are lined up, pull the trigger again immediately. And that is the pace that you should be shooting in a match anyway on that type of target. You with me so far?
Yep.
So by doing that, it eliminated some administrative problems with the drill. It eliminated gripping the gun wrong when you try to draw fast, which would be induced by giving people a specific time limit, and you can work on their draw later at home. It's kind of a separate problem, right? Mm-hmm. So then with that, I was like, okay, so I'm going to really focus on what I wanted to do, which is shoot the gun straight as the sights line up, no faster, no slower. I see the gun come down out of recoil and the sights are lined up, they should pull the trigger right away. So that's how I came up with that. By kind of looking at what was happening in previous classes, like, okay, so people are making this and this and this mistake. This mistake, I think, is not really related to what we're trying to work on. So I'll break that off into a different thing. And then, this will be the pace. It won't be a time because that's kind of too goofy for people, but it'll be like, hey, when your sight's on up, pull the trigger again. And then this is what the target should look like given those constraints. Does that make sense? I know it's a little strange as an explanation.
One of the main things I really like about that is that's a drill that I can do or anyone can do indoors at an indoor range where there's a bunch of racket going on next to you. You don't need a timer. Like, you don't need to worry about splits, anything like that. So you don't have to necessarily use a USPSA target. I mean, of course, you'd like to. But it's easy to do at an indoor range. It's like doubles where you don't need a timer. Maybe you don't have a holster, which, of course, drawing from a holster would be optimum. But I like it because you can, that's an easy drill to do in an indoor range. There's nothing really holding you back from doing that.
Right. So it's like that's how I came up with that.
Oh, it's interesting.
So has, maybe for class purposes or training purposes too, has practical accuracy and doubles completely supplanted dot drill? Or
I fucked it off.
Never do dots anymore.
No, I'm not saying I never do dots in classes.
Right.
If it was a guy like you and I was training with you privately, I might hand you that to say like, hey, I want to challenge you with this. Yeah. Or if it's like if I'm going out and I staple up some dots to shoot, that'd be fine. Like, hey, I want to challenge myself with this drill or something. Like, yeah, it's a great drill, but it's just got I've got more efficient ways of doing the same sort of stuff.
Oh, appreciate you sharing. I was curious where that came from.
Yeah, could see. Okay. Shit, we have to do a question, don't we? All right. I was at a recent level 2 match where I got to compare my points against a good master production shooter. In terms of my points on the stage, him and I are pretty close, but his shooting time is half mine. I'm shooting very slowly. I've been training bill drills and doubles and live fire. Most of my holster draws and reloads and dry fire. I can dry fire draw in about 0.7 seconds from your book without pulling the trigger. But live fire, it's near 1.3 or 1.4 seconds. On the live fire bill drill at 7 yards, my splits are 22 to 25 seconds, keeping in the A zone only. What are the best drills, live fire, to up my speed? Says the man. What do you think, guys?
So his stage time or match total time was literally double the other guy?
He didn't say literally double. He says his shooting time is half mine, so probably about half.
Well, he's losing time to this guy everywhere. It's not going to be one thing.
Probably so.
I mean, what I would, if you can get your hands on this other guy's video, and I hope you took video, and if you could overlay them or at least watch them back to back, you're going to learn so much. That's the most valuable thing you could ever do. If that's not possible in this situation, I think you just got to keep working on everything.
Okay.
He singled out draws, which
get a training group membership.
Yeah.
No. Well, I'll key in on this, and I would say his splits of 0.22 to 0.25 seconds doing bill drills. That's not the fastest I've ever heard of, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. His draw being 1.3 or 1.4 seconds, that is a problem. And it's not a problem because his draw time matters so much, but I find that people's draw times are strongly correlated with all of their transition times and every time they move to reacquire targets. So if the guy's shooting straight, and I believe he probably is, and he's shooting about as fast as he can pull the trigger on the close range stuff, what that means is the target acquisition must be fucked. It must be.
There's something that is grossly off to be double the time of someone else.
Yeah, it's target acquisition.
It is a huge thing. It's it honestly could be movement too, though. I don't know how much.
Well, no, it'd be any time. There's okay, if we break it into two categories, there's the being on target and shooting the targets. And then there's getting to the next target, whether he needs to draw the gun, reload the gun onto it, move, or transition. Anytime you do that, you have to acquire the target and get the gun onto it. And that is the problem, I would say, if I had to pick one thing.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because he keyed in on splits, which they don't sound unreasonable. So that makes me think he's bleeding time everywhere, that he's not pulling the trigger. So how fast are you transitioning? Or maybe not how, well, yeah, speed. But yeah, transition quicker. Is the gun up when you get to the next position? Are you running aggressively with everything you've got? You know, I think there's probably room to be gained everywhere, like what Tyler said.
Well, I also don't trust it when the draw time from the book is 0.7. So it's 0.7 to draw and get a sight picture. And then his live fire draw, and I suppose this would be when he's kind of warmed up and training, is 1.3 or 1.4 seconds. That should not be. Like, that's telling me the dry fire is wrong. Like, the dry fire is not honest, or it's like
not getting a good grip. Yeah.
The grip's not right, or the time's wrong. Like, he might be listening to the end of the par time, or he's one thing that people do is draw and they'll see the sights and then hear the beep, and then they'll kind of like line up their sights a little bit more and then kind of mentally finish the drill. You know what I mean? Like, it could be doing that. But it's something is grossly wrong with the target acquisition and his draw. It should not be like that. I would suspect something's wrong with the measurement as well. You know what I mean?
I would suggest going to whoever's like the good person around there and just kind of question and have this guy that wrote in the question ask them what they see.
It'll probably be like, dude, you're slow at everything.
Well, there's something that is huge, and I think it'll be like movement between positions and getting the gun up and stuff like that.
I bet you if I saw a video, he'd be losing it on every target. This would be like a guy who brings the gun to the target, then waits half a second, then shoots.
Like over aiming.
Next target. Yeah.
And I get that, work on everything is not a satisfactory answer. The guy wrote in, he wants to know the magic bullet. He wants to know the one thing that's causing his time to be double the other guy. Just pick one thing. Pick transitions, like Ben says, right?
Well, I said target acquisitions, which would include more. But one thing that you could do is set up a more complicated drill with some movement with the known distance and time stuff. So, for example, the USPSA classifier ×2 has a bit of movement in it. And this would be an appropriate situation for this guy in this specific situation where I'd say, hey, dude, run this drill in 8 seconds. Like, I don't care what the hits look like. Make it happen in 8 seconds, and then we'll figure out, like, where you're struggling, Because it's going to be a few different areas, but it'll, like you said, it'll be a few different things. But this guy needs to experience kind of the pace he needs to be working at. He's probably grossly over aiming at targets. Maybe he's not running as fast as he can run, that kind of stuff. But like setting up something like that and doing it would be appropriate, I think, in this situation, just to get more data. And I should also point out, being an experienced question answerer guy, this guy's sending in the data that he thinks is important. Right? Or at least maybe that he thought we would think is important. So it's saying something there that like draw time and split times is what he thought mattered. Maybe there's no focus on movement technique or aggression level at all. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this? I think the biggest bang for the buck, especially for lower level guys, is just between positions or when you're not actively shooting, you just run 100% of your ability. Like, if you're slow, doesn't matter. As long as you run it at your max effort, I think that's the biggest, most likely the lowest hanging fruit, especially for like long courses. What do you think?
Yes.
Like the easiest way to pick up a second or two off of every long course.
Well, this guy's not a second. I mean, he's talking like the guy he's shooting against runs a stage in 15 and he's running it in like 28.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to look for places where he's losing seconds, not anything
Fractions.
less than that at this point.
So it's not in splits, and it's in everything other than splits.
And I guess that's my argument, which is work on all that stuff. But if you want like immediate gratification or like an immediate difference, practice running 100% max of your personal effort, and you'll get seconds, probably immediately.
Yeah. And if he's not doing movement in dry fire, maybe start doing it. Like building a stage in dry fire where he's got some real movement and just pushing that par time down until it's, really solid. Some people just practice on single targets and don't practice multiple targets running around and that type of stuff. Maybe he just needs to start practicing it and then, watching the time and make the time low, like start pushing. You don't need to work on really technical stuff until you're, basically pretty good. Like when you're shooting a stage in 20 seconds and the guy beating you in the match is shooting it in like 15, like that's where it's going to take some really specific technical training to get better. But at this level where you're getting BTFO'd by like double, like that's, yeah, it's not going to be a complicated fix, in my opinion. Okay. That's all I got. Anybody else have anything to say about this?
No, I think that was good.
Fantastic. All right, guys. That's it for the show. Listeners, if you have any questions you'd like the answer to, go to bensteger.com. Send me your question. I'd love to answer it for you. It's late, man. I'm tired.
Get a haircut, you hippie.
I'll get one, in the next month or two, probably. I'll get a minute.
Great.
Son of a bitch, Joel.